Friends, today we are diving into one of the most important shifts in global politics, a story that could decide the balance of power in the 21st century. It is the story of BRICS expansion, of how new countries are joining the bloc, and more importantly, how India is navigating this delicate path between East and West. Between Russia and China on one side, and the United States and Europe on the other. The question is simple, but also extremely complicated. How does India balance both worlds without losing its own independent voice? And tonight, we are going to go deep into this game of diplomacy, strategy, and survival. Let us start with a quick reminder of what BRICS is. The acronym stands for Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. It was created in the 2000s as a symbol of the rise of emerging economies. At first, the group was meant to be a platform for cooperation, for trade, for development. It was supposed to be a counterbalance to the dominance of the G7. But as years passed, the nature of BRICS began to change. And today, with the addition of new members like Saudi Arabia, the United Arab Emirates, Egypt, and Iran, BRICS is no longer just about economics. It is about power. China and Russia have been pushing this expansion the hardest. Their goal is clear. They want to challenge the Western order. Russia, isolated by sanctions after the war in Ukraine, wants BRICS to be its shield. China, locked in rivalry with the United States, wants BRICS to be its tool to reduce dollar dominance and to prove that Beijing can lead the global South. But India's position is different. Subtle and very, very important. India does not want BRICS to become an anti-West bloc. India wants BRICS to remain a platform for economic cooperation, not a geopolitical alliance. That difference in approach is at the heart of the balancing act. Now, think about the challenge for India. On one hand, India is closer to the United States than ever before. Defense partnerships, technology sharing, investments. The Quad alliance, it is clear that Washington sees India as a key partner in countering China. On the other hand, Russia remains India's largest oil supplier and its traditional defense partner. And then comes China, a BRICS partner, but also India's biggest rival on the border. So India is forced to be a friend, a rival, and a partner all at the same time. And that is not easy. Take one example. Within BRICS, there is now talk of creating a common currency. A currency that would bypass the dollar. Russia and China are the biggest supporters of this. If such a currency were ever created, it could shake the foundations of the global financial system. For Russia and China, it is an attractive idea. But for India, it is complicated. Why? Because India's financial system is still deeply linked with the dollar. And India's biggest trading partners are the United States and Europe, not Russia and China. If India openly supports a BRICS currency, it could damage its ties with the West. If it rejects the idea, it could anger Russia and China. This is what I mean by a tightrope walk. And this is exactly why India's strategy has been measured. New Delhi keeps stressing that BRICS should focus on development, on trade, on investment. India highlights things like digital cooperation, infrastructure projects, and South-South development. But India avoids any open endorsement of an anti-Western narrative. This is a diplomatic art, keeping everyone close while not becoming anyone's satellite. Remember the G20 summit in New Delhi? India projected itself as the voice of the global South. Prime Minister Modi kept repeating that India was not just speaking for itself, but for the entire developing world. This same narrative is what India wants to bring into BRICS, where Russia and China see BRICS as a tool against the West. India wants it to be a tool for the global South. That way, India builds a positive image but also protects its interests. Now, let us weigh the pros and cons of BRICS expansion for India. The advantages are clear. With Saudi Arabia and the UAE joining, BRICS will now have some of the biggest oil producers in the world. For India, that is a plus, because both Saudi Arabia and the UAE are already close economic partners. Their presence in BRICS strengthens India's influence in the Middle East. Egypt's inclusion is also helpful, since it gives BRICS a gateway into Africa, where India has been trying to expand its footprint. But the challenge is Iran. Iran's entry into BRICS means the group automatically becomes more confrontational with the West. That puts India in a tricky position. Because while India wants good ties with Tehran, it also does not want BRICS to turn into an anti-America platform. The most complex factor, however, is China. China would love to dominate BRICS, to turn it into a Beijing-led group. But India will never accept that. This is why India always insists on consensus decision-making within BRICS. By doing this, India prevents China from taking unilateral control. Every summit, every meeting, there is a silent battle between Beijing and New Delhi over who will shape the agenda. Imagine a scenario where BRICS decides to set up its own oil pricing mechanism, trade in local currencies instead of the dollar. For Russia and China, that is a dream. For India, it is both an opportunity and a risk. In the short term, India benefits because it can buy Russian oil more cheaply. But in the long term, India risks angering the United States and Europe. So again, India walks carefully, studying every proposal, never rushing into alignment with any single camp. And here is something important: America understands this. Washington knows that India is not blindly siding with the West, but following its own sovereign path. At the same time, America also knows that it needs India as a counterweight to China in the Indo-Pacific. That is why, when India keeps buying Russian oil, America criticizes it publicly but tolerates it privately. Because in the bigger picture, Washington cannot afford to lose India. That is India's real diplomatic strength. Everybody needs New Delhi, even if they don't always agree with it. So where does this leave us? The expansion of BRICS is not just about adding new members, it is about reshaping global geopolitics. Russia and China want BRICS to be a rival to the West. The West sees BRICS with suspicion. And India wants BRICS to remain focused on growth, on development, on the global South. India's balance is delicate, but if it manages this correctly, India can emerge not just as a regional power, but as a global leader, a bridge between worlds. In the coming years, BRICS will not remain limited to trade and economy. It will become a geopolitical battlefield. Each summit, each negotiation will be a test of India's diplomacy. Can India manage both America and Russia at the same time? Can India prevent China from dominating the group? Can India steer BRICS in the direction of development rather than confrontation? These are the questions that will decide India's role in the world order for the next 10 to 15 years. And that is why, when we talk about BRICS expansion, we are not just talking about an acronym. We are talking about the future of geopolitics. The battlefield is global, the stakes are enormous, and India is standing right in the middle of it. Not just for itself, but for the entire global South.